Greetings all, Ferrariman601 here. Well, as many of you probably know, VRC have released their biggest project to date, Formula North America. In this mod, we get a 1999 Renault Champ Car chassis. We also get the 2012 Dallara DW12, and coming, we also get the 2018 Dallara IR18. Obviously, all of these are kart slash IndyCar machines, and this is groundbreaking stuff for Assetto Corsa because finally we have a high fidelity American open wheel mod in this wonderful simulator. Today all I want to do is just do a very quick shakedown drive with some commentary just to give you some idea of how this 1999 car drives. This is my most personally anticipated part of this pack because these late 90s kart machines were just unbelievable. We've got a twin-turbo V8 engine in this thing. We are developing over 950 horsepower. It's rated at about 980 horsepower at full boost. Put that in perspective, that's just as powerful as the Ferrari F2004, but it's mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox, yes, with a stick and clutch in an H pattern, yeah, and quite rudimentary aerodynamics as far as we're concerned, especially in the present day. So picture this as a concept between Ferrari F2004 and McLaren MP44. We have the power of the F2004, but the aero of the MP44. So that just gives you some idea of what it is that we're talking about. VRC have done an absolutely resplendent job on this car, and of course, this is not the entire mod. We also have a racetrack. Yeah, an actual racetrack in this mod as well. But I just want to give you a very brief overview of some of the external details on this car. Of course, a full review is inbound, but this is what we've got for the moment. It is something spectacular. I mentioned that this car is based on the 1999 Renault chassis. That's basically true. It appears that VRC have made a few modifications and additions as well as some deletions to that, but basically we've got a 99 Renault. This is incredible stuff. Let's drive the thing. Let's put some fuel on board. And let's also crank down the turbo for the moment because it's quite powerful, as you will soon see. In the cockpit, everything is alive. VRC have done a resplendent job inside and out with this car. We saw some of those external details, but when you drive it, it's something else. First gear punched up in this manual gearbox. We'll raise the revs a bit. We'll get out in the pit lane. We'll turn on the rear light here so we can get some backlighting on the dash. You can see our instrumentation there, very nicely appointed. Rev counter there, in addition to a secondary display binnacle up top, which you can turn on and off if you want in the setup screen. Of course, these are all details that we'll get into with the proper review, but just to give you a sense of what this thing is like to drive from the outset, from the word go, as VRC have released this mere moments ago as of the time of this recording. As you can see, quite pedestrian to drive, at 0 boost of course. Again, we mentioned twin-turbo V8 engine. When we dial up the turbochargers, you're getting well over 950 horsepower on slick tires, rudimentary aero. This thing is going to be absolutely ridiculous. There's our 6th gear there. Lots of clutch and throttle blip action going to be necessary on these downshifts. And what do you say we dial up the turbo? Let's go straight to the chase, 100%. Down, start, finish. Let's open it up. Tires are cold. Yes. Oh, God. That is the full fury of 980 horsepower going through a manual gearbox with obscene levels of boost pressure building. can see the turbocharger, the boost pressure builds up pretty much instantaneously. There's effectively zero discernible turbo lag. Up the hill here. This is a very steep incline. This car takes nothing of it. Into the corkscrew here. Finally starting to build a little bit of tire temperature. As you can see, the thing is very twitchy in medium and high-speed corners. Thing redlines at 15,000 RPM. 293 kilometers an hour there before we have to jump on the brakes into turns 1 and 2 here at Laguna Seca. And that power is absolutely explosive. The throttle is a detonator in this thing, no question about it. In terms of how everything feels, the steering feels great. The force feedback is phenomenal. It is absolutely on point. Steering weight feels appropriate. It's not too heavy, but it's certainly not too light. Running my Thrustmaster TSPC, everything feels very convincing. That throttle response is virtually instantaneous. As you can see, you have to think twice about getting on full throttle on corner exit because the thing will swap ends on you before you can even blink. Front axle feedback feels good. Again, these big slick tires, they just grip. Once they're up to temperature, provided you have a clean and dry track surface, yep, off you go. Car is generating quite a few G in cornering force, I would imagine. Not quite up to Formula 1 levels of grip, but I would say 3.5 G in the corners, no problem. But that acceleration, it is something to behold. Again, this thing is Ferrari F2004 quick down the straights. It just eats up the speedometer. Gearbox feels great. Using my TH8A shifter here, you just bang through the gears as quick as you like. You do have to clutch on the upshifts. Obviously, you're lifting the throttle as well. If you change gear without the clutch, you are going to get into some grindage territory, so avoid that. You'll kill the gearbox pretty quickly, but once you've got the hang of that, everything is extremely convincing. .986, that's a respectable time. Bit of a lockup there on the left front. You can see one thing that does happen quite often. Vehicle status indicator comes up with the engine flashing red. It's starting to cry enough from the boost pressure, but it does not appear thus far that the engine's going to be unreliable from running at high boost pressures, at least not before quite an extended duration there. So you can run this thing at full boost for a long time. It's not like turbocharged Formula 1 engines from the 80s, for example, where you had maybe 2 laps of full boost before the thing just exploded. So you definitely have a little bit more reliability built into this. But the feeling, particularly from that front axle, you know where it's going. But don't forget about the rear end, especially when you start to flex that throttle cable a little bit, because you don't have as much rear grip as you might expect. The car is generating quite a bit of downforce, but not Formula 1 levels of downforce. So if you're used to driving F1 cars, particularly of this vintage from the late 90s, you are going to notice a substantial decrease in the rear end department when it comes to grip. But once you just adapt your thinking to that and you become a little bit less aggressive on the throttle through corner exit, you do start to understand how this thing works, and it is such a joy. sounds in this thing. I'm not sure how well you can hear them, but second to none. I especially love the wobble you get on the upshifts. You hear that driveline elasticity setting in there as the clutch bangs back out to engage as you've selected the next gear. It is brilliant. As we've done a few laps on these tires now, we do have good tire temperature built. Grip is consistent once that core temperature has reached its optimal zone. But again, you do have to keep an eye on the rears, not only with rear end grip through corner exit, but you also have to be ready for wheel spin. Such is the torque that this thing is generating, even high up in the rev range. Obviously, a turbocharged engine, you're going to be generating most of your power higher in the rev range, but the amount of torque that this thing has is unbelievable as well. You'll spin the wheels from a stop in third gear if you want to. It is absolutely monstrous what this thing is capable of. Ooh, that was a little bit tail happy there. You can catch it, but you've got to be quick. That was wheel spin all the way up through third gear. Brilliant, 110.499. Little rear locking there. Didn't have the best downshift into second, but we got away with it. Ah, yes, just the amount of power that you've got. It is something that you only feel in mid-2000s Formula One cars, aside from this. If I had to characterize the driving experience, it is very similar in a lot of regards to the 1997 F1 cars that VRC have given us, the Ferrari F310B and the Williams FW19, but you're adding in a manual gearbox and you're taking out about 30% of downforce, so you have got yourself quite a handful, but it is manageable. It is certainly a very drivable car, but you do have to understand its capabilities and, most importantly, its limits. Coming into the pit lane. On the pit limiter. Graceful as you like. Stop adjacent to our pit box here. Throw it into reverse and stall it to kill the engine. I'd have to say absolutely brilliant preliminary assessment here of this car by VRC, the Formula NA, Formula North America 1999. There is another car in this pack which we will take a look at a little bit later on when we do the full review of this mod as it exists right now. We'll also take a look at the South Star Speedway, which is a full-on oval circuit here in Assetto Corsa. Yeah, this is a huge mod pack. I dare say it is a monumental addition to Assetto Corsa. We really, really needed this. This is an era of open wheel racing that is largely forgotten on the international scene, but there are so many kart cult followers here in the United States, and of course the modern IndyCar series has a huge following and it's only getting better, but this is going back into the history of that, and I really think it could open the doors of many international fans of open wheel racing to just how cool the United States had it in the 90s and maybe the direction that it's going in today. I will leave you with a look at a couple of onboard hot laps as well as external replays there in this car here at Laguna Seca, and please do stay tuned for a whole lot more content to come from this wonderful package by VRC. Stay tuned for the hot laps. For Ferrari Man 601 saying thanks for watching, and of course we will see you soon.